Kia ora. Hope you're doing well. This is for the targeted individuals out there and anyone else that wants to learn about your brain and how it's being hijacked and used against you. So I've been reading about and listening to a video about RAS, which is reticular activating system, and it's basically a bunch of nerves that sits at the base of your skull, on the top of the spinal column there where it joins. And these nerves are pretty important. They regulate a whole lot of things in our body. They regulate our emotions, our emotional response, like fight or flight. It's in charge of habituation, like becoming accustomed to certain stimuli over time. So it's sort of like, like when you learn to drive a car, you get in the car and you're like, oh my God, where everything is, and the lights and the indicators and gears and clutches, if you're driving a manual, and how it all works together. And at the same time, you're in charge of this thing that's moving down the street, and you've got to, scan for problems and things like that. But over time, when you get into the car, you don't do all of that. It's just automatic, and you don't have to think about it. And you get in the car and you drive, and you just like surface looking for stuff and for problems, and scanning and making those decisions, and not everything all at once, because it's all been automated by your RAS. So it also regulates our sleep and wake cycles, helps you to focus on a task, and filters out all else. So it's like a brain filter of what's important. And when I say they hijack it, if you think about what I've just said about the filter and the learning responses and automation, so how it's used against you is they would flood the environment with stimuli. For example, 10 red cars in a row, 20 people coughing at the supermarket, flashing lights, brighting, all of these things, so that you come to associate them with anxiety, because there's people watching you and they're letting you know, and there's no one to talk to, and this whole cycle of things. So eventually, now what they're doing is training your brain. So eventually your mind learns to track, with the RAS, learns to track and filters the noise and the highlights. So this includes noises as well, like the horns and the sirens and the traffic and phrases and all these things. Our brain becomes trained to look for these patterns, and it's the patterns that they're creating. So they're deliberately creating this recognition in your brain with your RAS to recognise the patterns. So what happens then is you become sensitized to these patterns, and then they don't have to do it as much. They've only got to put one red car in front of you. They've only got to cough once, and away you go. Your triggered response that your RAS has now automated goes off on its little track. So this is the same little track with like what I've learnt with addiction. It takes 21 days to create a new groove and pattern in your brain. So it's pretty much the same with this. The thing here is you get more of what you focus on. So if you go over the same groove over and over and over, you've got a pattern. You've got a way that your brain follows every time. It's the same with addiction. That might be an emotional trigger. Zing, I need this to cope with that. Things like that. So giving up addictions is recognising those patterns and changing them. It takes 21 days, as I say. So you recognise a pattern and you can consciously change it. So you can start to reset this RAS. So when I've said in previous videos about getting into your driver's seat again, this would be, I intend to change this pattern. So whether it's getting out of your seat or looking out of the window automatically every time a car drives past, or whatever, those little automatic things where you just look to see, to confirm the pattern. So if you're intending to change this, you would catch yourself making that move to look out the window or to scan for cars or to make that automatic response and assumption about a noise or a visual, and you would go, oh, I'm not going to look out the window, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, and you will change, and that's how you change your groove. And this is what the gang stalking thing relies a lot on, is like predictive AI for what we're doing and things like that. So they watch us, they figure out our patterns, and then they make their little program to I don't know, sync with that, I suppose would be the word. And so when you step off that path and turn left instead of your usual right or whatever it may be, you screw up their little plans because you're going off track. You're not following your pattern. So what we need, and what I've tried to explain in the past, I didn't know anything about this RAS either, is we need to consciously change the pattern and retrain ourselves. And this is getting back in our driver's seat. This is empowering ourselves, and this is where our power is. We choose. We're not going to be mind controlled and programmed to follow their little patterns. So this would go with mind control of like MK Ultra and things like that, because this RSA, as I say, it manages sleep-wake cycles. It helps you to focus on tasks. It's the fight or flight, and of course the habitual. So they would know how to use these things, and like I believe that their knowledge wouldn't be mainstream like to the average psychologist or psychiatrist. They'd be educated up to a certain point, and a whole lot of stuff would be kept back. And I believe that they're like supersonic educated in this and use it against us. So what else? I've written some notes here. So they flood automate that, do that. Excuse me while I just read back here. It also regulates your behaviour and things like, well, of course it does, because if they can change your behaviour, then they're succeeding, aren't they? What else? Anything else I've missed here? Yeah, so basically they program your RAS to see the patterns that they create, and then they've sensitised you. When they have sensitised you to these patterns that they've created, they ease off and just let your own brain do the work. As I say, a single red car is now enough to trigger an anxious response. And this is also why when you try to say to other people, oh my god, like every time I step out the door there's like 20 fucking red cars and there's this and that happens and that, they're not going to see it, because their brain their RAS hasn't been programmed that way. They can't possibly see it in this, because it's in your head. When I say it's all in your head, it's all in your head. It's literally all in your head. So, yeah, there's no easy fix for this. It requires dedication and focus and some real self-discipline. And, that's what's talked about in the Bible. That's what JC was on about, with the fasting and overcoming the flesh and all of these sorts of things. It's consciously overcoming these things. So, you're halfway there when you can recognise it. And when you can recognise the pattern being triggered and go, nope, I'm going to do something different, you're in your driver's seat. So, hopefully this has been helpful. Like, as I say, I know a lot about brains because I had the neurosurgery, so I studied a whole lot of stuff. I was aware of this RAS thing, but I didn't know that it had a name and a particular thing in your brain that was responsible for it. So, yeah, knowledge is power. So, get out there and look after yourselves and do different things, make different choices, and screw up the patterns. So, take care. As I say, I hope this was helpful. Kia ora from New Zealand, and look after your beautiful selves.